All right, so in this quick video, I'm going to show you how I do paint fill on small objects. You can see a lot more details in the post that this will be connected to, but I'm going to kind of give you the basics today. So I like to use a really pigmented paint. So this is the Liquitex acrylic gouache. So this is very, very dense, matte black. It's a great paint. I use it for like painting in general. It's kind of pricey, but you can use cheaper stuff, like, you know, stuff you would get at the craft store. You can actually use glitter paint as a paint fill as well. So that's why I bought these, to try that at a later time. But essentially, I just take the back of my printing shipping labels, the little glossy sort of backer for the stickers, and I just put a little bit on that palette. I'm then going to use a silicone brush because these are easy to clean after the fact, and you don't waste any paint having it kind of sucked up into the ferrule of the brush or into the bristles. And then I'm going to take one of my objects here, and these are the little sweethearts that go into this Valentine. Take enough of the paint to sort of push it down into the engraving, and for these I just use the proof grade standard setting. I tried the high def setting and it didn't really make enough of a difference on here, and these are just sort of text. So you're going to try and scrape about as much as you can down into the engraving, scrape off your excess, and you're gonna let that sit for just like a couple seconds, maybe like a minute. Usually I would just try and do all of them really quickly and then come back to it. The paint's still definitely gonna be wet, but I'll do 2 or 3 here so you can kind of see. So I'm just scraping it in. I'm trying to avoid getting it on the sides, but that can be cleaned off later if needed. I just want to try to avoid that. And then let me do this one as well. I still have the masking on the back of these, so that'll make it a little easier later to peel them. And let's do that a little bit more here. So once you have that kind of scraped in, and this silicone's soft so it won't damage the acrylic, which is kind of nice. And this will work for any kind of glossy finished material. So your pattern ply that has that sort of glossed finish or water resistant finish, the proof grade, walnut, maple, etc. So I use this technique a lot. Then I'm going to take a spray bottle of alcohol, and this is 99.5% ethyl alcohol. It's not super different than isopropyl. You can use either. And I'm just going to mist this paper towel here. And then I'm going to flip these over, and without a ton of pressure, you're not pressing really hard because you don't want the fibers of the paper towel to pull the paint out. Just kind of like lightly work in like little circles. And then that's good for now. So you're gonna do one pass. It's not gonna look perfect on the first pass, but you're gonna do one pass to get the main amount of paint off. And then you probably wait maybe 4 or 5 minutes, if that, and then you do a second pass, and that'll make it really clean. So let's do that here. So little circles. That one's not quite as good. You're just trying to get the main amount of paint off. So you can see that's not perfect. And then I would let those sit for a little bit and then come back and do them later. This will also, once you see them at that stage, you can sometimes tell if you like missed any areas. So you can see I'm like a little bit empty on that E. So I could go back and correct that now if I wanted to. So if you find your first results not perfect, you can come back and clean them up later. So let's do that. Because the paint sometimes will kind of settle. Sometimes there's like a little bit of bubble in there. Now I'll show you on the dry side, so you can do it on the dry side. I find the alcohol just like does a little bit of a better job, but that will work. A lot of people also use a baby wipe or like wrap it around a piece of wood. I find a paper towel is fine. Like I don't like it too moist because I feel like that tends to draw the paint out of the engraving. And I'm just gonna fold this over. These haven't sat very long, but usually if I wait just like a little bit, and now I do a very, very gentle light pass, you can see that looks pretty good. So I might wait a little bit and then do them again if needed. What's nice about like the glossy acrylic is even if I let these dry overnight, a lot of times I can still gently kind of buff that off with some acrylic cleaner. And you could use acrylic cleaner instead of alcohol. I don't usually like to use alcohol with acrylic because it will crack it. I don't care what anyone says. I have watched it happen in real time, especially along the edges of a cut. If you use too much to clean it, it's kind of hit or miss, but because I'm only like barely cleaning these with it, I give it a pass. But it absolutely can and will damage acrylic in certain situations, so do not use it on like a really large, fancy, expensive cut. If you don't want to use that, the Novus plastic polish, I just want to grab that, will also work fine. So you could, this is a little more pricey, but you could definitely spray this on there. I definitely got it on these, but I think we'll be all right. And do the same thing, and that'll work. So if you want to be extra cautious, that'll work. And you can see that works pretty nice there. So that would be how I would do my paint fill for any kind of small enough object to do that. If you're using a much larger object, you could obviously just sort of use the paper towel on top. I find that doesn't work as well because you end up sort of pressing it not perfectly flat, and it will lift paint out of the engraving. Another option, if you don't want to do paint fill, as you can actually see, I've done that here. It's a film like this, and it's specifically for laser cutting. So you just peel and stick it, score it, and then weed it like vinyl. But it's not as thick as vinyl. It's really nice and flat, and it gives you like a gorgeous shine. You can get it in like black, silver, a variety of different metallic colors. And I think that that is also a really nice option if you're not wanting to do like a huge paint fill, or you want something different in gold. So you can see that's kind of the final Sweetheart Valentine. You can just place them all in there, and it's kind of a cute little concept. So that is how I do a paint fill. Hopefully that is helpful. If you have any questions, just let me know. Oh, last thing, the edges afterwards, I could usually wait till the next day, and then I just take the same plastic cleaner and just sort of rub it with a paper towel. Or another favorite of mine are these doe foot applicators, and they're like for lip gloss. You can buy them in huge packs, and it's really easy to sort of just get a little cleaner on that and clean the edges of your piece. And if you try to avoid getting it on the edges in the first place, that really helps. But if you have a little bit, like you might be able to see some there, you can just run that along that edge, and that'll clean it up. If you have a super, super, super intricate outer cut, you're just gonna have to try and be careful, because this won't necessarily get into tiny like micro turns and twists, but that will work. So that's how I would clean them up. Once they're fully dry, I can always clean the surfaces again with a little bit of the plastic polish, and then you're all done and you have your paint filled project complete.